wow.
apprehensive about coming back.
Oh,
And
did you just see that? Oh gosh.
The first thing I see is this like crucified elf on my door.
Well, each do a clap. Okay. Hello, and welcome to the currently unnamed podcast. We'll probably stick with that name.
I like it, yeah.
Thank you. It took absolutely no effort to think of whatsoever.
I thought it sounded like a masterpiece.
Well, that's just how we roll here at the Community Church Southport. Anyway, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Sophie. Do I say like about uni?
Well, it's up to you. I didn't really have any thoughts. I wouldn't I think what the last two guys said was they were prepared to stand up and say, "Hello, my name is Emmanuel and I'm an alcoholic," or something like that.
Oh my
as if it was like
gosh, we're
Alcoholics
here
Anonymous.
for you, Emmanuel.
It's alright.
Yeah. Well, I'm Sophie.
Are you an alcoholic? Actually,
Try not to be, guys. Oh my gosh.
University stresses.
University stresses. Yeah, fresh as 30. Honestly, no, I don't know. Yeah, I go to Edge Hill.
Woo!
I study sport therapy. Woo! I don't know. What do you say when you introduce yourself?
Maybe one interesting fact about yourself. That isn't already you haven't already shared already.
I'm sick at braiding hair.
Really?
I'm so good at it. People should employ me. I'm not kidding. I'm actually really good. Yeah.
I'd pay to see that, I think.
Yeah.
Just to see if you
No, I can show you. I did it last night so there's a girl at uni. She has really long dark hair.
Mm-hmm.
You know Ariana Grande? She has the high, put her hair in a high ponytail. I did this long fishtail. Oh.
Ooh, fishtail.
It was nice. Yeah.
I'm surprised I know what that is, but yeah.
I'm very impressed.
Thank you. It looks like a fish tail.
It does. Well, I don't really think that it does, but maybe it does. I don't know.
Kind of. Maybe I've just eaten too much fish.
Maybe.
Anyway, so one of the first things I wanted to ask you was, why did you decide to do sports therapy? What was it? Was there any other things that you wanted to do that you thought, nah, I'll do this instead? Or did God say, oh, I want you to go and poke people's bodies for a living?
Yeah, oh gosh. Why did I want to do sports therapy? I'm still asking myself this question.
Fair enough.
Actually, I'm not joking. I do actually ask myself that question often. When I was younger, my mum is a nurse, so I've always quite liked medical things. I always found the human body to be quite fascinating. Because my mum was a nurse, I was like, oh, I want to be a nurse. Or I used to call it, I want to be a needle doctor. Because,
Sorry, specifically the needles.
When I went to get, when you're young, you get, the little vaccines, or, blood tests, or, mum would tell me about this stuff, not in a disturbing way. I was young, but it was very professional. Anyway. So I was like, I want to be a needle doctor. And she's like, Sophie, a GP, you want to be a GP? I was like, okay. And then it progressed, and I was like, oh, I want to be a nurse. And then she was like, I'm a nurse, and my job is stressful, so I don't think you should do it. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I won't be a nurse. But shout out to nurses, they're actually dope. So then I was like, well, I want to do something with the human body, and I was quite sporty. I liked dance. I did a lot of dance, or gymnastics and things like that. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll do physio. Because at this point, I had no idea that sport therapy even existed. I was 12, and I was still figuring out what I wanted to do. Which is oh my word, you're 12. Who cares? But I cared.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a physio, and da-da-da-da. So I started to organize my life, GCSEs, A-levels towards that. And when I went to college, I did sports science, which sounds oh, you did sports science, because usually I think most people who do sports science, I'm gonna be so hated after this. They get the dregs who are oh, I need to do A-levels, but like I don't even know what I want to do, and you can do sports science, like bare minimum, scrape through it, 0 effort. But like genuinely, if you want to get good grades, you do actually have to apply your brain. So I applied my brain, I think. And in that, I was speaking to the lecturers, and I was with one lecturer called, can I say her name? She's not going to see this. Oh, it doesn't
Lecturer
matter.
A.
Lecturer A. Anyway, she was my anatomy and physiology teacher, and she was super nice. And I was like, I'm going to do physio. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, there's this thing called sports therapy. And then she told me all about it. And it's basically, physios specialise in health, whereas sports therapists specialise in sport.
Sport.
And seeing as I was doing sports science, I was like, oh, this is a really good idea. Yeah. So I did biology as well, because by the time I had changed from wanting to do physio to sports therapy, I had already started this whole like chain of events of doing biology, because I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, do I do doctors? Do I do like hematology? Do I become a cardiologist? Like, I didn't know. All of these sound very impressive. But then anyway, so I was like set on this course of doing all these different levels, and then I changed to wanting to do sports therapy, and then here I am. I don't know, it was a really long-winded answer.
That's okay. Anyone who knows me very well will know that I will take any yes or no question to a humongous extent.
I
so
just
don't
ramble.
Worry. So do I.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and how are you finding it so far? It being online, having to do everything from a computer, that might not always work.
I mean, it's not what I signed up for. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like out every day and in person. Like, I love being out.
Yeah.
I love being at home. But like, if I want to be at home, I'm going to commit to it. Like, I'm not going to shower for 3 days. But if I'm going to go out, then I'm like,
yeah.
Social butterfly. So I was really looking forward to like all the hands-on things, and then obviously COVID hit and we're like I think the most difficult part is knowing like how much to study, what to study for, because you're not like in constant contact with the lecturers and like your peers. So it's difficult to know all the time what's actually happening, and it's difficult to stay motivated when you're like in your flat for most of the hours of the day. So it's difficult, but because I quite like what I'm studying, like I think you can make it work. Yeah. So not the best, but it's figuring it out. It's cool.
It's pretty cool. And everything like settling into your flat at university, and how are you finding that as well, and making friends? Are you able to make friends on your course, really? Because you're not actually having any contact with them?
Might have to in my course I've made like a couple of friends. One really good friend who I'm gonna move in with next academic year. And so we'll often like come together like in the library and things to study. So like we've become quite good friends that way.
Yeah.
And then in my flat, oh my word, first 48 hours of university, I was like, I felt so sick. I was like anxious. I was like, I'm gonna die. And it was all like in my dorm. And then I would leave and I would enter like the kitchen and I'm like, no, like, everything's fine. Like I'm handling this perfectly. And if I get really nervous, I get like more chatty than usual. Usually I'm just like a chatty Cathy and like everyone's like inside like, oh my god, shut up. And then like when I get extra anxious, everyone's like, but I think because everybody else was quite nervous, they didn't know what to say. So I feel like it balanced out evenly. But no, my flat, it was quite nice. I was really apprehensive because there was like 5 boys and then 2 other girls and then me. I have 2 older brothers, so the boys didn't like scare me in that way. I was just like, it's gonna stink. No offense to your kind, but it's
our
gonna
kind.
stink.
Our kind.
Our kind. But no, it's been alright. Like, I think you just have to put them in their place, you know, if they step out of line, honestly. Like, my 2 other flatmates, they are lovely, but sometimes they obviously not as, like, forceful maybe as I am. Maybe I need to just take a chill pill. But, like, they'll leave their stuff out, or, like, they'll come home, like, very not with it. And they'll just be, like, bashful and, like, pushing around. And I'm like, whoa, you watch it. And then they come up to me the next morning and they're like, I'm sorry, Sophie. Didn't mean to do that.
You have a power over them then.
Yeah. Well, I came back, like, this time round. And because they now know I'm a Christian, we had this elf on the shelf. And they, like, crucified it on my dorm room door.
Oh, wow. Oh, dear.
I think it was a joke.
Oh, gosh.
I was already apprehensive about coming back.
Oh, and then you just see that? Oh, gosh.
The first thing I see is this, like, crucified elf on my door.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. I've been in my dorm room for like half an hour, and they came back from this massive Aldi shop. And they were like, Sophie! Coming up the hall with their massive, like, crates of beer. And I was like, what did you do? And they were like, oh, look what we did. I was like, they're so proud of themselves. It's like, oh my god.
And how is the elf now?
Still on my door.
I just thought, might as well stay there. They created something with it.
I did take the little pins out of its feet. So now it's just hanging with its 2 arms. Probably more painful for the poor guy. But I actually needed pins.
Fair enough.
No one else was using them.
Has he still got pins in his hands?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so then you've got 2 spare.
He's still hanging on the, So if I become desperate, he'll just be hanging by one hand.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
So, like, apart from that specific experience, how has it been being, like, a Christian in amongst non-Christians? Like, I don't know if you said, but you, like, grew up in a Christian family and stuff like that?
Yes.
And you went to a Christian school?
My whole world was like, Jesus loves you, Jesus loves you, and I was very aware that Jesus loves me.
Yes.
Which is a super amazing reality to live in, but obviously it's like when you get told it every single time, it's like, oh my gosh, I know! And he's like, dude, I died for you, what are you talking about? You are. Yeah. I was a bit apprehensive at first, but in my church there are like some really cool people with some really amazing testimonies, and they didn't grow up in Christian homes, and somehow by some amazing miracle they'd made it to our church. They'd had like people in their lives at different like periods, so like a couple of them, they're like 18, 20. And when they tell me about their stories, they're like, oh my word, at age 4 I had this aunt who was a Christian, and then when I was 7, like I had this friend who was like, it was just amazing how God had weaved people into their life. And I was so determined to not become like lukewarm. One of the biggest fears in coming to uni was I thought that my faith was gonna like just die. And actually it's done quite the opposite, which is amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
But they really inspired me to be like, if I love the reality that I live in, like with God, then I'm desperate for other people to know that they can live in this kind of joy and freedom, because I don't think that they know just how amazing it is, and I'm aware of how amazing it is, or how amazing I find it to be, and I'd love for them to know it. So when it came to university, I was already so nervous that I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to say as it is. So, like, one of the best ways was being like, sorry guys, I'm going to go to my Christian Union meeting. And then they'd be like, oh, bye. And then I would come back into the kitchen. They'd be like, so you're a Christian? And they'd ask all the questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, just being as open and as honest about it, because then it normalizes it and it's not like weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like it was confusing at first, but they get used to it. Yeah.
And so they're not like openly hostile, because I've known some people.
Some of them do think that I go on dates with Jesus, which I just find very confusing.
You're like, I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I don't know what. Well, yeah, I don't know what odd Sunday school teacher they had, but
yeah,
I think it was more the boys. They were like, Sophie's gone on a date with Jesus, yeah, and then I just be like rolling my eyes.
Fair enough.
But like, for example, like the girls, they were really like nice about it. They would ask loads of questions. Yeah, it was good. It was a good response. And like obviously like they see the way that you live your life and the way that you make friends and the people that you keep around you, and like all of that is a testimony, like sowing seeds. So even if you don't see the fruits of your labor, like I'm working dead hard, like you know that that this is gonna come back to them later on in their life. Like Holy Spirit's gonna remind them. Yeah. I don't know. To answer your question.
Yeah. No. One of the things I've kind of noticed from trying to do this podcast is people have had a really good time being a witness to others. I know Chris and Emmanuel may not have had the chance necessarily to with their with the people that they know, but I know Shemi has, and also now you seeing that. It was really great to hear that, to see other people being really solid in their faith and being able to show that to others through their actions and through the way that they live. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. I missed out a question earlier because I'm the way I am. So do you like actually do any sports, or do you just like? Do you like sports at all? Is sports something that you're interested in?
I don't like sports, but I'm doing sports
therapy.
No, I do lots of like dance and gymnastics.
Cool.
Well, I say I do lots. I did lots. I'm not I'm not amazing at it, but I just really enjoy it, and like I think I understand that world.
Yeah.
When it comes to like football, rugby, I'm not interested. I'm sorry, I'm not interested.
And
it gets me like my heart like, because we're in lectures and all the examples are based on these like big beefy ball sports, or like you're a cool girl because they're all like footballers, and I honestly I couldn't even kick a ball straight. Like,
don't worry, neither can I.
Yeah. So no, when it comes to sport, that's everything that I base like my world around. That. In regards to sports therapy, not my actual world.
So in terms of dance, what kind of dances do you do, or are you like interested in?
My the main one would be ballet.
Really?
I was not good at it. Like I was very good at bar, because when you like stand by the bar.
Yeah, and you
go, because you didn't actually have to move around a lot. It was very like flexibility based and very much like sort of you didn't have to move around a lot. It was more just like moving of the legs and then like pointing of the toes. There wasn't a lot to think about.
Yeah.
So I could like logically work through it. And then when we would go to like the floor and we'd do like routines, I would be able to do them. I would just be like, woo! But I had a great time, so I didn't really care.
It's fair enough.
I'm not going to be some sort of prima ballerina. I just enjoy doing this stuff. But yeah, that was my favourite.
So, actually, you probably answered this already, but if you weren't doing sports therapy, do you know what you would be doing?
In a very practical sense, I would probably be, during lockdown I got a job in a care home, not for the elderly, but they were for like mentally and physically challenged people. That was a lot of hard work, but it was so much fun. So I would probably literally be doing that right now, if I wasn't doing sport therapy. I've definitely thought about this. I'm like, maybe I'll just become a builder. Maybe I'll be a postwoman. I don't know.
You could do anything, that's the thing.
Oh, in like a real, like, if I like had all the things
if you
magically work out for me. If everything magically worked out, I think I probably would love to be some sort of like prima ballerina, like, and have like just doing ballet be like my everyday life. That would be sick. Oh my gosh. But yeah, if not like sports therapy, then something else medical. So maybe even a nurse, or maybe like a missionary nurse, like something like that. Anything that like requires me helping someone. Like ever since a young age, like I definitely like felt God say like you're here to help people. I don't know, I really enjoy it. Like I quite like people in general, so I'm like, oh my word, tell me everything. Anything medical, anything people based. That's what I'd be doing. Yeah.
So you talk a lot about nursing, but you didn't talk about like being like a doctor. Is doctor not what you would want to do over being a nurse?
In my head, I'm like, I do not think I would be smart enough to be a doctor. Which I know sounds like, oh my god, don't put yourself down. But like, I genuinely don't think that I would. Maybe I would be. But like, it's a lot of years of study. Like, I never really felt like being a doctor, like, put on my heart. If anything, then I suppose a GP is like a doctor, but even then I don't know. Maybe.
They're very different jobs, though, if you think about it.
Yeah, like I quite liked the demographic of people that nurses get to interact with, which I know is essentially the same as a doctor, but like I feel like nurses are more sort of versatile in that they can go to literally anywhere. So can doctors, but more often than not, I think it's easier to like dot around. Maybe I don't even know if somebody's watching this and being like, that makes no sense. I don't know.
Don't fact check us.
Don't fact check me. Oh yeah, and also with nurses, like you can go up bands and then down bands, and it's like you get more responsibility, less responsibility. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Would you want to travel?
Yes, I'd love to travel. But like not even just like travel for the sake of traveling to be like, oh my god, I've been to Morocco. Like my geography is bad. I don't even know where Morocco is. Like, but I quite like seeing the sights. Like I'm not like a tourist, but I love going on hikes and like looking at views and things like that. Like we had a holiday in the Lake District once. Best time of my life. I was like, am I in the Hobbit? Am I in the Lord of the Rings? This is dope. We'd like reach the top of a mountain, there'd be like this ridiculously beautiful like silver lake, and I'm like freaking out. Yeah, so I'd love to travel and do that.
If you thinking like Hobbit and like Lord of the Rings sort of landscapes, New Zealand.
We have friends from New Zealand and they are amazing, and they always tell us about like how like beautiful it is.
You haven't been?
No.
I've not been either. But I really want to go.
They've invited us and invited me, and I'm like, oh, can't wait to go. But like obviously, I feel like it's one of those really polite things that they say. It's like, of course you can, but like in reality, like I'm not free till January 2022.
Yeah.
So.
And there's this massive thing going on. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called a pandemic.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would hate for like someone to have like made this their gap year.
Oh gosh.
That would be the biggest gut punch ever.
Yeah, it would be.
I knew a couple of people, they were like, they were putting all of their university degrees on hold, and they were like, do you know what, I'm just not feeling uni at the moment, so I'm just going to go travel. So they would like defer it for a year, and then COVID hit, and they are devastated. They're like, I'm just sat at home. I was like, oh.
That's
rough. Not okay.
Oh well, at least you didn't do that. You went straight into uni, into classes.
I think like
online.
I was tempted to do the whole like gap year thing, but then I think it was just me being a basic person to be like, I just want to travel. And then I was like, I don't know anything about any of the countries. I can barely speak English. Like, what are you talking about? So when I do get to travel at some point, I will need a guide. So hopefully it'll be like, I live in Scotland and now we're best friends. And I'm like, oh, let's go! That kind of vibe. Otherwise I'd be lost.
Okay, fair enough. Right.
That'd be good.
Sophie, thank you so much for doing this.
Yay!
I hope you've had a reasonable time.
It's been great!
Good, I'm glad. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed this as well. I hope everything has worked out, and of not being too much of a spoon.
Even if it hasn't, it's okay.